but not tonight. Um, Dave, do you
Okay,
have?
I'm definitely here.
Yes, you are. Welcome to the show.
Oh, welcome, everyone.
So everyone's now. I'm going to go ahead and text my group that you're online, Chella. I was just chatting, Chella, just kind of bringing everybody up to speed as to what you have done in Cincinnati. I brought up the fact, that you've spent an entire year just building this show. I then explained that you are moving into a Columbus office, and so that it would make life a little easier for me, so that a 2.5 hour drive would occur and not an extra hour and a half added on to that. It takes me about 4 hours to drive to Cincinnati. Um,
Go out in this
Dave,
living room. I can't get it. Doris in there. Get out of this living room. Okay,
so
I'm here.
Okay, so what we're doing is we just brought some of the people up so that they would understand your history, so they would understand passion. I think they've got that down. Um, so I haven't said anything more about it. Not talked about the film that you are writing. I've not talked about your Cincinnati team in depth. I've only introduced them, and I haven't said that much about the the film that you're working on. I just kept that rather quiet as well. So you can kind of start this out, and I'll just follow your lead, Chella.
Okay, well, I first want to introduce myself as Chella Marie Smith. I'm here out of Cincinnati, Ohio. We are expanding our office from the Hope Arena on Reading Road up into the Columbus area. Um, we have been working on this project for a little over 2 years. We are very thankful that Mike came to us for help in regards to the Vincina Protocol and getting the actual knowledge out to the communities. Um, and I think that's what's most important here. There's a lot of things that I want to go over tonight, which I kind of got a kind of little bit of a script going. I'm going to do some Q&As with you, Mike, if you don't mind,
No, that's
since this
fine.
is the very first show. And
Okay.
I'd also like to apologize for all the viewers that are out there that were not able to actually physically see us until 8:33. Sorry for the delay. I know we have a lot of listeners right now. And
Well,
I'd like to thank all of y'all for being here.
you're bringing all the listeners to us, Chella. We thank you for contacting your network, and we have a tiny little network up here, so we're very appreciative of your support.
No problem. I appreciate working on this project. So I want to ask you, Mike, so that way we can kind of update the listeners that are out there. What exactly are we talking about today other than the companion book and the movie? What is the basis for why we are all gathering and talking and bringing people onto this live feed? What is our purpose?
Tonight's topic is about the quality of our drinking water. I believe that's the most important issue at this point. We, as a project, we've developed almost 17 chapters of topics relative to legacy contamination that sits in Conneaut, Ohio. So tonight, we're just going to tell the story about what we have encountered. We are not scientists, we're not doctors. We've conferred with many, many people that are in the medical field. We've talked to EPA. Uh, we've done a lot of talking, so all we're going to do is convey what these people have said to us. And of course, our drinking water is very, very, very um, certified through the health department in Conneaut, through the Ohio Health Department, and through EPA. So we are not experts. We're just giving a follow-up on the report that we gave to City Council Conneaut, Ohio in October 6th of 2014. We are doing this tonight because we've spent over a year communicating, having meetings, and trying to get the attention of Conneaut City Hall. And of course, we know that this is a slow process, but we're seeing that we have failed at motivating our council people to really take this serious. So what we've done to react to that is we've built a companion book that we'll talk about at a later date. We have started writing the treatment for the new film, which Chella is going to talk about at a later date. So tonight we're going to talk about what we believe is needed, our listeners to understand what we think contaminants are in our drinking water. And we want to take issue, we want to have a discussion of that because our politicians will not talk about these issues. So we take a point to this. If they're not talking about it, we believe they know stuff that we don't know about this, and we want to further the discussion and try to motivate at least our local politicians in Conneaut to
Well,
actually have.
let's slow down for just 1 second. And when I mean slow down is I want to go back, and for all the listeners, a lot of people might not be familiar with your terminology. So we're talking about the drinking water. We're talking about how it is pretty much there's certain types that you need to drink. We're talking about EPA. We're talking about a lot of different people that are involved in a lot of changes that need to be made. And the first change that needs to be made is the knowledge that all of the viewers are getting tonight. The first most important thing that I would want them to know is we're talking about drinking water. We're talking about your body is made up of 80+% of water. And if your body is made up of 80+% of water, most of the things that you intake on a regular basis, if you read the directions on the cans and on the products that you're using, cans being in your food chain, and then also products that are in your everyday use, as in hair products and all kinds of different things. So we're talking about a big, huge range of water. And where is the safe way to get water? What is the right water we're supposed to be drinking? Is it a cost effective for us to be having at least a start with drinking water that is been filterized correctly? Talking about the EPA records and what they're doing and who they are, along with knowing what type of water is it that you should be drinking. Do we work for the companies that sell these waters? No. Do we benefit from the manufacturers that make RO? I'll let Mike go ahead and explain what RO is. And this is things that when you go grocery shopping or you go into the food mart, you look at the back of the water container and say, is this water been filterized 5 times through a system that has definitely cleaned out the water for you to safely drink it? What can happen if you don't pay attention to these water bottles? And what's the difference between RO water and what is spring water? I think that's going to be important topics for tonight, so that way we can just kind of scrape the icing on the cake, because we have a lot of ground to cover. And I'm just ready to hear what you have to say from that point right there.
All right.
We have 88 communities also that are listening in as well.
Say that again, Chella.
We have 88 counties that are listening. I also want to talk about the BMAA and the difference between the BMAA and the and the EPA, the difference between them. If you could go ahead and start with the RO system, Mike, if you could.
All right. We're just telling a story, so I want to qualify as we go forward that this event that we're doing tonight is the exact same method that when we went before City Council last year, where we brought 70 pages of documents for the council to forward to the Conneaut City Health Department for some sort of clarification. So tonight, what I'm going to do is tell the story of what that was like for me. When we started this, we brought up the fact that RO, or reverse osmosis, was a very clean way of removing the contaminants from our water. Now,
and what kind of contaminants are we speaking about, Mike? Can you be more specific on the actual contaminants, the threat to society?
Well, yeah, what I certainly don't want to create any fear in people as they're listening. So the contaminant, we've talked about this for a long time, whether it be the EPA conversation on contaminants or the media.
And who is the EPA, Mike?
We're talking about.
Can you explain to everybody what EPA
yeah.
is?
Yeah, we're talking about the Ohio Environmental Protection Agency. This is a state jurisdictional agency that controls the state of Ohio, and they report to the federal EPA, and the agency that reports to the federal EPA is the Twinsburg event. That event is a small facility that sits in Twinsburg, and they report to Chicago's federal EPA. So there's.
I want to thank you for explaining that, because I think that's really important for our listeners to know how and where they can check reports on their water in their county. That's the first place to start. Then I also want to get into talking about the BMAA. Can you explain that for us? Because I'd like to be able to differentiate both different departments.
Yeah, the in our documentary that has already been produced and right now that's in post-production, we focus on the neurotoxin called BMAA. This is a toxin that comes from cyanobacteria, which is labeled as blue-green algae, that the media has coined as a problem in Lake Erie. Now, as
which has also become a problem in many other lakes in all 88 counties of Ohio, not just Conneaut itself. And I believe that with the studies and the data analyzing that I've done, we have it spread in Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana. It's pretty much across the United States. We've also worked with scientists, which I'd like to, if people didn't see our last episode or the testings that we were doing, we have people from all over calling us in and saying, hey, this is here too. We've looked up some other records and found that, you know, a lot of it has to do with what, Mike? Is it chemical drum dumping? Is it just environmental damage that we're doing? What exactly, where is this coming from?
Yeah, the issue is cyanobacteria, which is threatened by pesticide, chemical runoff. They will even have issues with other organisms that compete with cyanobacteria. When this occurs, cyanobacteria releases a neurotoxin to defend itself. That neurotoxin is called BMAA, and we have given our statement to the CDC. We've given our statement to jurisdictional agencies within the EPA. and we've talked about BMAA. What we have found out in talking to the Ohio EPA, that they have no data at this moment on the cause and the effect of BMAA. We have realized that there was a problem in Toledo last year concerning cyanobacteria, which was called blue-green algae. And when that occurred, they shut down the water department for 3 days, and this brought the film company out and was sent to Toledo to interview the Toledo Water Department. And they went to the Cleveland Clinic to interview some of the neural doctors. One specifically was Eric Piorio, neurologist and the chief section of the neurology. So what we're talking about tonight is just a molecule that is so tiny that it cannot be seen in by a microscope. And if it is in the water, and if this molecule finds a way to get into your nervous system, it has the ability to promote tumors. It has the ability to create certain cancers. And the neural disease that it creates is the Lou Gehrig's disease, ALS, MS, muscular dystrophy, Parkinson. There's a whole array of different neural diseases that we are not capable of understanding, but we bring issues to this idea, and we brought those issues to the Conneaut Health Department, and they did not want to comment on this particular issue, and they did not support any kind of conversation for whatever reason. I'm sure they talked to the Ohio Department of Health to get feedback, so I think at the moment there's a lot of studying going on, but there is not a public discussion going on. And what
And
we
those
have
studies And those studies are basically by microbiologists, biologists that are all over the country and outside the country. I do believe with the lab scientists that we worked with and film producers that we worked with, they were trying to genetically find different types of relation to different lakes that were being able to connect the dots in some kind of way. And I do believe that they did find some connecting dots, which was the mercury that was in the perch, I do believe. And I want to go back to the quote that you made on getting the government and the different politicians to campaign the Protocols Project. What do you want exactly from them? What exactly is it that you're looking for from them directly?
Yeah, this episode is going to start a conversation with all politicians that it is time to change our sand filtration systems in every community. We understand
and
that
also sodium, correct? That's also sand and sodium, coal, all those familiar sounding systems that are in homes, restaurants, hotels, public places that you wash your hands at, that you go and drink water. And the first thing I know is for a restaurant, they ask me what would I like to drink, and they offer me water first. I've done a test project within my own county of where I live at, and I've asked plenty of restaurant servers as they bring me the menu, what kind of water filtration system do they have? And to be honest with you, I have to say only probably about 8% knew what kind of water system, and they thought I was in there with like the food administrative, like they were thinking I was coming to shut them down. If I didn't,
they probably thought you were a health inspector.
Right. So with that being said, a lot of people didn't know. They got their managers. Their managers would come over to the table, and there were a few restaurants that I had spoken to that had gotten shut down, and they are using the RO system. The RO system, I have found that you can buy this RO system from Lowe's, and you can put it on your sink. But the problem is much bigger than just your sink. It's your shower. It's the main port to your house, the water that's coming inside of your house. It's a bigger problem than that. And so therefore, when I was talking about the politicians and what we can do and how we can campaign them is, you know, getting a law to take effect. I know back when they had the lead based paint law that went into effect, where in order for you to have a home, it had to be built with no lead paint anymore, and if you bought a home, you had to basically sign a paper stating that you were aware that this house was painted with lead base in some point in time. I know that that took about a decade to be able to put that law into effect. Are we going to be willing to wait a year or a decade? I'm sorry, not a year, a decade to be able to take on this situation. This situation I feel needs to be addressed now, and the sooner that we start nationally getting attention with this issue, we can perfect some of the things that are going on. Mothers that are having babies, the first thing that happens, their baby gets washed off. Are the hospitals using RO water? Are the mothers that go home, are they being properly telling their patients when they go home with their infants to use an RO water, not just the nursery water? Is the nursery water RO water? What waters are cost effective that you know of, Mike, that can maybe...
What we have to do is, we're not going to be able to convince the politicians to place RO systems in their communities, but that is something that we want to pursue. For at this point in time, there is a safe way of at least going to Lowe's and picking up an expensive RO system, and that would cost about $300 to $500, which would go underneath your sink. And it's a 3-stage system, or it's a 5-stage system, depending on how much money you're spending. But what it will do is it will remove all of the contaminants that is in the tap water.
And I want to remind everybody that we do not work for reverse osmosis. We do not work for Lowe's. We do not work for the water companies. And spring water is not RO at all. And I just want to clarify that with all of our listeners, because I have a lot of people that say, are you a distributor for them? No, I'm not a distributor for them. I'm somebody that cares about your well-being. And I have been data analyzing for a long time, and I know that EPA is ignoring the report. So the government's going to continue to ignore their reports. But then I see lakes being shut down. I see people not wanting to go and put their boat out there and go jet skiing and water skiing. They don't want to put their families out there at risk of getting some kind of bacteria. I know with myself, which I talked about on our test run last week,
yes,
where my children and I had taken, you know, the dog to the beach, and the dog came out green, and there was fish that were dead on the beach, and they were calling that green algae. Real terminology for that was cyanobacteria, and my kids got a taste of that cyanobacteria because they broke out and had to be treated with, and that's why I've taken this project so personal, is that my children had to be treated with cortisone cream, and it was scarring their skin and stuff like that, and my son's face was very broken out. So I have taken this project to a whole nother level due to the fact that I've kind of experienced a lot of this. Now, I know that, Mike, there's a lot that a lot of people don't know because of the Vincina Protocol. Where does the Vincina Protocol come from? Where does that name originate from? Can you tell us, please?
Well, the Vincina Protocol is a name that we used when we were building the research to try to save my wife, Vincina Squeak Helfenstein. We are very focused on this particular issue because and we'll get into that in other episodes, but this particular cause is because of my wife's death. And we attribute the environmental trigger and not a genetic trigger. So what we are talking about is an environmental illness. And this environmental illness, we have spent an entire movie explaining that. So we're not going to get into that tonight. But because of my wife's death, we've spent an amazing amount of time. Our different teams in different communities have been putting in a great amount of volunteering time. And what we've come up with is we see common elements in every team that we talk to. And what we have found, and that is the public is not aware of these issues. So we're just
No.
trying to discuss this. We're trying to figure out a way to communicate certain things so that the public can call and talk to their health department, so that the public can talk to their politicians and ask for clarification. This tonight is just to develop a discussion, and I just received a quick statement from somebody that just texted me, so I just want to give an answer to something that you just asked me a question on. And they're saying, at this point in time, Mike, in South County of Ashtabula, people are leaving their homes, walking away from their legacy, becoming sick with an environmental illness, and they're entering medical care in Cleveland. No one is talking about this kind of stuff. So we receive information from our teams. We'll receive text messages. We will receive emails. So all that we're doing is conveying gossip, rumor, scandal. We've created a technique to get that information from the public without violating the HIPAA laws. So we want to be very clear about that. So when we go forward, the public is just understanding that Chella's team is spending a lot of time on understanding the drinking water quality. They're trying to understand how that connects with other communities. We did talk to a company that was sitting out of state, and it's a laboratory, and they're doing a study on our drinking water in this country. And they went so far to leave the country into other countries. They spent a great amount of time in the Baltic Sea. They went to the Middle East. They're finding common elements with this issue. So to just further expand on that issue, there is a scientist out of Hawaii, because we have friends that live in Hawaii, and a particular scientist who was very concerned about the effects of BMAA. As a scientist, he called and communicated with his other scientist friends in other countries, asking them to take a sample of their tap water and send that to his lab in Hawaii. He did so, and found 30 samples was sent to him. And he tested all 30 samples to find that all samples had the BMAA toxin in the water. So there's enough facts and there's enough data out there that suggests we should talk about this further. We should get the politicians to do the funding for these kind of investigations rather than ignore the symptoms and ignore the facts of disease clusters that do exist in continental Ohio.
Now, what do you think about the whole ice bucket challenge? This has been something that I've been wanting to talk about. After knowing what we know about the water, do you feel, first I want to know what you think about the ice bucket challenge, and then I want to know if do you feel that it was appropriately taught, and I also did it as well, but if I could go back and with the knowledge that I have now, I would use a different water. Would you agree with me when saying that?
No, I would not agree with that. I would say that the Ice Bucket Challenge was a great publicity stunt that was started, in New York. It worked very well.
For the awareness, though, correct?
It brought great awareness to the disease. but there was no discussion about the effects of water, and I think that's where you're coming from, Chella, and that
Right.
is kind of a bad tool to use when we, as a very small group, we're talking about the quality of our drinking water. And here the Ice Bucket Challenge is using water as a way to draw attention to the disease. And I think that in respect, that's a great idea. I don't think they were aware that the water had a element to the disease, but let's talk about that. Let's talk about that water is a vehicle that does trigger disease. I think we need to expand upon that. So the Ice Bucket Challenge brought attention. I think we had a great time at having a conversation because it did bring attention last year. And due to the fact that you're putting water over yourself to draw attention to the disease, if we take one step farther and say, okay, let's talk about water. That seems to be a subject matter that it concerns everybody, but we as the human species, we really don't care much about what could happen to other people. We only care about what happens to us, and then it's too late. So we
So
want to
with
have this
that being
conversation.
So with that being said, I had a listener listening in last week, and they said to me, they said, "Well, I watched your live feed, and I'm so glad I drink pop. And if I drink water, I'm going to boil my water."
Well, that's a very scary thought.
That's what I was thinking as well. Considering I just want to educate a lot of people that water is mixed with the syrup to make soda. So if you're drinking at a restaurant and they ask you if you want a soda, it's obviously going through the same filtration system as their water.
Talk to a lot of restaurant owners in Cincinnati, and you put a lot of fear into these restaurant owners, and that's the only reason why they've crossed over from a simple filter to RO. They're going to RO because they're fearful that you're going to go around telling everybody that they've got an old-fashioned filter system. It makes them look bad because they're charging a lot of money for their food. So
Well,
you
I remember one lady telling me, "Oh, yes, we got a new filtration system," but I never knew our old filtration system was bad. I never knew our water was bad. I would just drink the water every day, and that's all I really drank. She said, "But once we got the new system and I put the glass of water of the old system next to the new system," she said the water was so much more clear. She couldn't believe that she had been drinking that water the whole time she had worked there, and she was so happy that they had gotten the new filtration system in there.
so tell me, Chella.
When I think about that, now it's that the public doesn't even know that the glass of water that looks crystal clear to them could look even more clear to them, and they do not realize that the water is contaminated.
Yeah, let's talk about that real quick. I mean, now you're comparing a glass of water with maybe just one filter, and you're comparing another glass of water with a 3-stage system or a 5-stage system of RO. Now, when you look up at both waters, they all look great to you. The question is, what glass of water do you personally want to drink out of? And I would like to know that you're not scaring all the restaurant owners in Cincinnati, because no one will want you to come up to Cleveland with that kind of reputation. So you
Right.
tell me what glass of water you're going to drink from.
I'm going to drink from the RO system is what kind of water I'm going to drink from,
But you
because
can
I want to
afford,
make
see,
sure
you
that
can
I'm
afford
healthy.
that. No. You can afford that, but a poor person can't afford an RO system. So are you telling me that only the rich are going to be healthy and the poor people have to drink bad water?
That's our whole reason for our debate. And that's the whole reason why we're trying to get listeners listening. So that way we can make some kind of action of system for our Congress to be able to put in effect some kind of way that we could be drinking great water, all of us, no matter who it is. Now, I do know down here in Cincinnati, we have a company it's a distributor that a lot of people can go to here in Cincinnati or Ohio. It's Kroger Water. They have RO
do you have any
systems.
stock in Kroger? Just please let us know.
I do not have any stock in Kroger, but I do buy Kroger water. It's cheap, it's inexpensive, and it has the RO system on it. I know that my water is good water. I'll go to other stores. I'm not going to say what stores, and I won't buy my water from them. I'll have to make a second trip over to the other grocery store just to be able to make sure that I'm drinking great water. So, I, I potentially am looking at it in a lot of different ways, which we will get into over the next several weeks, especially when it comes to our food chain and not having the RO systems on our faucets in our main kitchen, because we wash our food with those waters. We cook with those waters, and so forth. We have just went into a whole new topic, which I'm going to save that topic and stuff like that for later on. But I do want to talk about the boiling of the water from our previous test run with the gentleman that said, I will just boil our water. What will that do for us?
That is just
if everybody boiled the water.
That would be just, well, because what we're doing is we're talking about BMAA. We're not talking about anything else tonight. We're just talking about the neurotoxin BMAA. And
Right.
if you boil that water, you are not going to kill the organism. You're not going to kill the neurotoxin. All that you're going to do is vaporize the water. And what we would say to you, and that is run, because the vapor could very clearly have that molecule go airborne, and it find a way to get into your nervous system through that process. And that's something that you should talk to your health inspector or your health director or commissioner on these issues. And that's the only way things are going to change, Chella. People need to be educated. And it's not like you have to go to class. All you have to do is have someone in the city hall to have a discussion about this. I don't know if you've been able to get any of your people to write into you. I don't know if any of your people you're following has called City Hall in Cincinnati, but we've tried doing that in Conneaut, and we have failed miserably at getting anyone's attention. So what do you suggest?
Well, what I do suggest is for us to keep on coming on live every single week, keep on spreading more knowledge about what is going on, what the Vincina Protocol project is. We have a lot more to go over, a lot more things to discuss. Today was just kind of the icing that was just breaking the top of the cake. We have not got into any of the dynamics of the book. We have not gotten any of the information on the movie. We will have a guest on our live feed next week. We are going to have some people from St. Louis join in with us, and I think it's going to be great because they have a different outlook on a lot of things that were a part of the Vincina Protocol, and I'm excited to hear from them. Thank you, Mike. I think that have you gotten everything that you wanted to talk about out tonight, as in carrying out the BMAA? And just talking about the disease cluster that it is, and have we covered all grounds there?
Yeah, I think we have. I think this was a great way to start out the conversation. I just encourage people that do get to hear this, or I hope that people that do see this link pass it to their friends and their family and their Facebook following. That's what you have to do. You have to share this. This is the only way that this little project is going to be heard, and that is if everyone who does drink water wants a question answered, the only way that that's going to be answered, and that is if they share this little episode and with their friends who share it with other people. You've got to share it or nothing's going to change.
Exactly. So, with that being said, I want to thank you, Mike. I want to thank you, everybody, for watching today. We have so much more to come. We have some exciting things going on. I don't want it to all seem like it's all bad, bad, bad because it's the drinking water, because there is good. There's good drinking water out there. You just got to know where to get it. We're going to try to find out for all 88 counties where you can go to actually get it. We're going to try to put up a listing on Mike's page, my page, Empress Entertainment page, Google search engines. We're going to try to put them up on Instagram and Twitter. If you'd like to find Mike, Mike is at food_Mike on Instagram. Are you also on Twitter, Mike? As
Yes.
well under the same name. And
Yes.
then also he's at Mike Heffenstein on Facebook. I'm at Chella Marie on Facebook and IPT Chella Marie on Instagram, Twitter, and I'm also on Facebook under Empress Entertainment. We will be having all the live discussions, so that way if you've missed this discussion, you can always pick it up throughout the week and watch it whenever you have some free time. We will be moving the show for the live feed to Tuesdays, because we know that we don't want to interrupt football, okay? So for all you football lovers out there, we are going to Tuesdays, just to let everybody know, at 8 o'clock. And thank you for having me. Thank you for our support team that's in the background. And I want to just thank everybody for listening out there. Mike, you have anything else that you want to carry on?
I just want to thank David Jones for setting this all up, and this has
He's
been
been
a
a miracle.
yep. I agree.
He's working the background. You guys don't get to see him, but he's working different camera operations for us. So he's doing a great job. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chella.
All right, thanks everybody, and we will see you next Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is on the Vincina Protocol project with Mike Heffenstein and Chella Marie, and we will be bringing in expertise. We will be bringing in a lot of people. Stay tuned.